Welcome to the Ask Dr. Deanna show. I'm Dr. Deanna Holdren, your host. Join me weekly as I cover various health-related lifestyle medicine topics that you get to request. This show is for anyone who wants to proactively improve their health position. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Dr. Deanna show. I'm excited to be with you again today. And today's topic, we are going to unpack anxiety. And I know all of you have experienced some level of anxiety at some point. I don't think that you can live on planet Earth and not have some level of anxiety. But specifically, we're talking about a range here of anxiety from just, I'm feeling a little anxious, a little nervous, all the way over to full-blown panic attack. And I'm going to give you 3 tips today to help manage your anxiety levels and just help you to, live in a way that is a de-stressed sort of way. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about anxiety and what it is exactly. It's basically this intense, super intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. A lot of times it's associated with a fast heart rate, rapid breathing, sweating, and feeling overall exhausted and tired. And for some of you, just hearing me say that probably had your heart rate go up by 10 points because it's already making you feel anxious. Oftentimes the feelings are excessive. They are all consuming. They can be accompanied by intrusive thoughts, and they basically affect daily living and your ability to live your best life. So why not conquer it and look at some of the options that are out there, some of the things that we can do. For some people, it does end up being medication, but we're going to talk about other natural things that can be done, natural tips that you can implement starting today that can make a difference for you. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the types of anxiety, some of the things that I see in my practice. There are several different types, and there's more than this list is not all inclusive. There are other types of anxiety, but just some of the top ones that we see are things like agoraphobia, where you're just afraid to leave the house, an anxiety disorder that is basically due to a medical condition. And I see this one a lot. It's almost as if there's been a medical condition and then there's, in a sense, a bit of post-traumatic stress disorder because of that condition. Generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, which is full-blown panic. And this is the one where oftentimes can be quite debilitating and people end up, seeking emergency care. They might even think they're having a heart attack, because they often have, chest pain associated with it. Another one would be separation anxiety disorder. And that's just a fear, could be fear of being separated, for a child. We see this especially, but also can happen sometimes with a spouse too. Social anxiety disorder, and then even a substance-induced anxiety as well. And that it has become more and more prevalent as time has gone on. So when we talk about, first of all, causes of anxiety, what's at the root of it? Why is it this way? One of the things that we have to look at, of course, is medical conditions. And sometimes when I read the research and I see that there are medical conditions linked to the anxiety, I wonder, is this an emotional thing? Is it basically coming from the fact that you've got this maybe serious medical condition? Or is it perhaps even related to the medications that one might have to take because of the anxiety? And sometimes certain medications, if you look at nutrition, nutrients, and you look at certain medications, there's a whole list of nutritional deficiencies that can, in fact, be caused by certain medications. SpectraCell, which is a micronutrient company that I like to use in my practice, SpectraCell.com, they actually have a nice list, a patient handout that looks at some of those medications that can cause micronutrient deficiencies or nutritional deficiencies. The cool thing here is that it doesn't mean that you can't take the medication. Oftentimes, these medications are very much needed. But if you're aware of it and you recognize that it may in fact be decreasing your level of B vitamins, for example, then you just supplement. Okay. That's the cool thing, is that you can basically correct that nutritional deficiency with a supplement or by incorporating foods that are going to help you there. So some of those medical conditions where we frequently see anxiety associated would be anything cardiac related, from having had a heart attack in the past to an arrhythmia, can be related to it. Diabetes diabetes is also highly associated with anxiety, as well as thyroid disease and COPD. Now, a lot of these, certainly when if somebody's, thyroid is off and they're getting too much, thyroid hormone, or they have an overactive thyroid, they are going to feel anxious and jittery. Likewise, if a person has COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, they can't breathe. Okay. When you cannot breathe, you start to feel anxious. So you can see where that would make a difference there. And then also, a diabetic, if a diabetic drops low in their blood sugar, as that blood sugar is dropping low, they're also going to feel anxious. So sometimes it's related to that condition, but then it also could be related to the medication being used. Drug misuse or withdrawal can also contribute greatly to anxiety, as well as chronic pain, irritable bowel. Certain tumors, there are certain tumors that can produce chemicals in our body that will definitely make us feel anxious. And then finally, malnutrition. I mentioned how the medications can affect nutrition status, but also just not eating a proper diet, not getting the basic micronutrients that your body needs to fuel the body can actually contribute to anxiety as well. There are certain conditions that can increase our likelihood of anxiety, or these are risks that we might have. If you've had any sort of trauma, whether it be emotional or physical, you are at a higher chance or higher likelihood of developing anxiety. Stress due to an illness, stress that is built up. Go back and listen to the personal care podcast and learn, some de-stress techniques, because again, that can absolutely have an impact, especially if we're not addressing the anxiety or the stress on a daily basis. It can build up and then ultimately, land with a panic attack in the ER and so forth. Sometimes it's personality. For some people, their personality is just wired to be more anxious. I suspect that is related to neurotransmitters that are fueling their body more than anything. But a lot of times it's personality driven. I mentioned already drugs and or alcohol can have an impact, oftentimes because again, it's affecting the nutritional status. And again, these are all things that we want to look at. And then finally, family history. If it runs in your family, it runs in your family. Doesn't mean that you have to deal with it regularly. Just because your family has always had, an anxiety problem, you're maybe a parent or a sibling or whatever, it doesn't mean that you have to, because again, through lifestyle medicine, a lot of times, just making sure that you're meeting those basic nutritional requirements can clean it up and make such a difference. So what are my tips? My 3 tips from a lifestyle medicine standpoint to be able to help with anxiety. The first one is check your gut. Okay, gut check, and go back and listen to the podcast on gut health. Basically, when your gut microbiome is out of balance, okay, you are more likely to have anxiety. And so how do you, get it back? Why is that? First of all, okay, why does that happen? It happens because a lot of those neurotransmitters are made in the gut. And so how do you get that back in balance? You basically have to eliminate anything that's throwing it off balance, which a lot of times it would be certain foods, might be gluten for one person, could be dairy for another. And then in addition to eliminating those things, you want to replenish the gut and put the good, healthy microbes back in there. That would be with a really great probiotic. More information on that, you can go to deannaholdren.com and check out what we have there. So gut is a huge part, and that is actually my starting point for treating anxiety. Is let's take a look at this and see what's going on. There's all kinds of testing that you can do to see what's happening in your gut as well. The second tip is lifestyle. Okay. So are you living your best life? Are you enjoying life? Do you feel great every day? Are you excited to get up and go to work or do whatever it is that you do? Okay. Are you happy? Do you feel balanced? And for a lot of us, it doesn't take much to kind of get off balance and to suddenly have an increased amount of stress and anxiety. So just always self-monitoring, checking to see, am I, and asking yourself the question, am I living my healthiest life? Am I doing a good job? Am I living a vibrant, healthy lifestyle? And because that will make a tremendous difference overall. How well are you taking care of yourself? That's really what it boils down to. Are you exercising? Are you eating right? Are you giving your body the sleep that it needs? Are you taking care of you? And then the third tip, for reducing anxiety is focus on your nutrition. Nutrition is absolutely king. What you put in your body is fuel. And for a lot of us, we run around. I always give the analogy of a car. And if you take your car to the gas station and you want to fill up the tank, but you fill it up with water, the tank will be full, but the car's not going to run, right? And that's exactly what we do. Millions of Americans do this every single day when we eat, the standard American diet, processed foods that don't serve us. They have very little or no nutritional value. They're loaded with additives, preservatives, all kinds of harmful ingredients. And we basically fill our tank with that stuff, but it doesn't allow our body to function at optimal levels. It simply, basically sends you in the opposite direction and sucks your energy, because now you have to spend so much energy trying to digest the stuff. So when you focus on nutrition, eating whole foods that are nutrient dense and that are clean, it will absolutely make a difference in your anxiety levels and how you feel overall. So, the one thing that we want, and a goal of mine for my patients is always, I want you to function at optimal levels. I want you to feel great. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel balanced, and I want you to be able to live your best life. And whatever I can do to help make that happen is what I want to do in my practice. And so for so many of us, it starts with the gut. So in addition to that, those 3 tips, you guys, a few other things, that may be of benefit. Those are my top 3 tips, but a few other things. Cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT can definitely help. That's with a therapist. Sometimes, you need a prescription. Okay. That happens sometimes, and that's okay. Sometimes, supplements, I have often used Orthomolecular, makes a great product called Serenity, and Serenity can sometimes help with anxiety and or depression. The micronutrients, I mentioned that already. Sometimes it's of benefit to, go with a company like SpectraCell and do a complete nutritional panel to see, where am I? What is my body missing? What does my body need so that I can function at optimal levels? So I hope this has been helpful. I would love it if we saw a massive reduction in anxiety, and that all of us could take these things and just kind of put them, to work, into play in our lives, and allow people to basically just live their best life because of that. So thanks so much for joining me, everybody. Don't forget, you can submit questions, topics, things that you would like to hear covered on this podcast by going to deannaholdren.com. You can also message me on Facebook or on Instagram. So thanks so much, and have a great day. I hope you enjoyed that episode. For more information, visit me at deannaholdren.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Deanna Holdren. I really want to hear from you, so message me. I love taking your messages and creating topics from them. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share my show with those who have an interest in health and wellness. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.